Good evening, everyone. We're here, and welcome to the month of October. Also, welcome to our very first public breast cancer awareness event. My name is Dr. Nikki Anthony. I'm the founder and the executive director for Little Hands, Big Hearts, Little People Service Organization. And I'm excited to present tonight's presentation to you all. This topic is something that is very dear to my heart just because of how much it has impacted my family personally. So a lot of what I do as far as advocacy and things stem from my experiences battling the diagnosis of breast cancer that my mom experienced, my biological mom. So tonight, you're going to hear some very candid conversation. You're going to hear some personal experience from two survivors that have turned into advocates. And I'm excited to have the both of them here. Really quickly, I'll share their names. This is Nikita Littlejohn we have with us, a survivor and an advocate, and also a business owner and a mom and all these different things. And then we have Candace Rogers, who is also a survivor and an advocate, and also a mom and a businesswoman as well. So you'll hear a little more about their business ventures and how you can connect with them, how you can learn more about the services maybe that they received for one of your loved ones or yourself. And that's what we'll be doing tonight. So stay tuned. Make sure you ask questions specifically. Make sure you're respectful with any questions because I don't play that. So make sure that we are respectful when we ask questions. And this is a focus on the family because the diagnosis does not just impact the person who received it, it impacts everyone that's connected to them. And so we want to make sure that we do highlights how you can navigate your breast cancer diagnosis with your family. All right. So we'll go from there. I've already introduced myself. You guys know me. I want to share the mission of Little Hands, Big Hearts. And this kind of tells you what we want to do as an organization. We started out focusing on little people only, but I realized those little people go back into families with big people and not so little people, teenagers. And so we want to make sure that the whole family is equipped to be servant leaders and to think for the greater good, to do everything that they do for the greater good. So the mission of Little Hands, Big Hearts, Little People Service Organization is to develop little people and their families into servant leaders who think beyond themselves for the greater good through explicit and intentional opportunities for character development, selfless service to others, and community-based volunteering. So make sure if you've not connected with us on social media, you can search for us on YouTube, on Facebook, on Instagram, on TikTok at Little People Serving. And you can also connect with us on our website. You can go to our website at www.littlepeopleserving.org. All right, to learn more about who we are, what we do. We're not just a local organization, we have international reach into 3 different countries. We have done work. So connect with us. We would love to have you. All right. So I would like for both women to introduce themselves, and then we're going to get into our questions, but just tell a quick snippet of who you are. I did a slight intro, but you can tell about you better than I can. So we can start with Nikita if you feel comfortable.
Yes, absolutely. Well, obviously, my name is Nikita Littlejohn. I am 38 years old. I was diagnosed with breast cancer when I was 34. I am a single mom and now a business owner. I went through breast cancer during the year of COVID.
Wow.
So I made my way out of that. And as a result of that, now I have a business and I'm helping other people with their health issues and things like that, and developing herbal supplements to aid them through their therapies and things like that.
Mhm. Thank you.
What I do now.
All right. Candace, if you're ready, we lost your video. Uh-oh. Okay, we'll come back to Candace. No worries. All right, so
It happens.
it does. Technology. There we go.
Okay. I'm sorry. My
Welcome back.
apologies. My phone rang. Hi, my name is Candace Rogers. I was diagnosed with breast cancer in 2021. At the time, I was 35. Um, and so that was kind of like in the middle of COVID, kind of recovering that like Nikita. It impacted more than I realized myself and my family. And ever since then, it has definitely changed and I would say strengthened my relationship with God. I thought I knew my relationship with God, but it definitely strengthened that um, through going through this journey and solidified some relationships and stuff that I had. And so, my husband and I, we have a business and such, and I'll mention that a little bit later. But we do have a business and everything. Just trying to live life to its fullest now.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Awesome. So I wanted to just kind of share a little bit of my family's journey battling breast cancer, the breast cancer diagnosis. In 1996, my mom, Joyce Anthony, who is the inspiration behind this organization, she was like my foremost example of a servant leader. My mom was diagnosed with breast cancer. And prior to her diagnosis, my mom had gone to three different oncologists. And it took three quote unquote specialists to acknowledge something that she kept saying was wrong in her body. And how do I want to frame this? One thing that I became passionate about after her passing was she passed away battling breast cancer. She wasn't a victim of it, she battled it to the end. One thing that I became passionate about was preventative measures, being offered and extended, and learning how to navigate just addressing issues in your body in the medical arena, all kinds of things. Because I feel like if someone had listened, she went to people who were specialists. She went to two different people before she got to a third one and said, yeah, you're right, there is something going on. And by that time, she had to have a full mastectomy. And our family was indelibly impacted because of the late diagnosis, right? I had another loved one who was misdiagnosed, and this was earlier before my mom, but this loved one ended up losing a breast as well because of a misdiagnosis. And so I saw all of these examples of medical malpractice, especially against women of color, Black women. And that's the problem for me, as a Black woman. And so my heart is to present Black women who have navigated, the diagnosis, whose families have gone through that diagnosis as well, and hopefully offer paths as to resources that might be necessary. What are the questions that you ask to make them listen to you, right? So that's what my heart is. Most often, especially in the Black community, we are extended more treatment services for things that could be dealt with instead of preventative services. That's a problem. We should not get to needing any treatment services if it's not necessary, right? So that's my heart. I do ask if you all will share this, because I want as many people to hear what's going to be shared on tonight. So share it in your communities with your friends. Any of the links, share them. Okay. So I'll get started. I'll ask if you ladies will just kind of share, how did you detect the cancer? How did you detect? So that's our first question. Any of you can jump in.
I detected mine through my own self exams, and I encourage every woman to do their own self exams, because even when I was going to get my annuals and things like that, not even the doctor, they typically do the exams, and not even she found it. So, and one thing that I like to do is, and how to remember it, is to do it during your cycle and do your breast examinations. I like to do it when I'm lying down, and that way you can kind of feel everything. But that's how I detected mine myself, from doing my own breast exams. So
Mine was a little bit extreme, I say, because in December of 2020, I was actually pregnant with my husband and I, our second baby. I was pregnant. He contracted COVID at work. And so later on, I ended up getting the symptoms and I got the worst of it. Unfortunately, we lost our baby. But then I noticed that my breast was swelling and that it wasn't going down. It was a little harder than normal, and so I went to the doctor to get it checked out. And that is when they went through the different exams, the mammogram and such, to determine if it was cancer. And it was. The crazy thing is, I had just had an annual physical in October, and my doctor did not detect anything. So I don't know if it was, just due to the COVID or not, but just knowing that I just had an exam a couple months prior, just kind of stuck out to me.
Right.
Right. So, with that, were there any risk factors involved? I shared a little bit about my history. My mom, so I have made it a point to get annual exams. I actually had a scare in 2017. I think I was 35 at the time, and had a scare. And I ended up having to go through 3 rounds of testing to make sure that it wasn't what they thought it was. So thank God for that. But in the back of my mind, those thoughts come like, oh, what if it's that? What if, So for me, risk factor, I have history, very close history, So were there any risk factors for either of you in your family history or anything, or even health related?
For me, no, I actually am the first one that I know of. I talked to my mom, my dad, and I'm the first one. So it was a shock to pretty much everyone, like, where did this come from? And then as a result of that, I had to get tested for the BRCA1 gene mutation to make sure, because that increases the risk of cancer, and not just in your breast, but and also other places. So luckily that came back as negative. But yeah, I'm the first one, and that like I said, that was just a shock to everyone, including myself. Like, where did it come from?
Right. For me, my mom had just been diagnosed in 2019, so just about a year and a half prior. She and I kind of walked through that together. And as I was diagnosed, she was, kind of rounding off her radiation treatment. So
Wow.
I didn't think it would impact that fast, and it never came back that it was genetic. But as far as the risk, it was so close to the time in which I was diagnosed that I was unable to, determine if that had any impact.
Did after your mom was diagnosed, did that make you kind of scared, or make you maybe want to get checked or have a mammogram? How did that make you feel?
I think I was so focused on supporting my mom that I didn't even think about it at the time. I think at that time as well, I was still believing that I was invincible. I didn't really know a lot about breast cancer except for what I was learning with her. And she found her lump on her own, so it was stage 1 for her. She was able to have a lumpectomy and have it removed, and haven't had any cancer since then. But yeah, I wasn't afraid because I was so busy focusing on my mom.
Oh,
Um,
wow.
so talk about I guess the day that you got the news of the diagnosis, mentally, emotionally, as much as or as little as you want to share. What was that day and that moment like for both of you?
It was for me, it seemed like a
I
very
was
long
crying.
process. It seems like a very long process. I was in a daze so from the moment that they thought it was breast cancer until the mammogram and then the biopsy, there was like a few weeks. And each of those days within those few weeks, I was in a daze. I just remember just every day almost feeling like a zombie. So I was kind of unawares and had to bring myself back too, because I was still recovering from having a miscarriage and then having severe COVID. So it just felt like, a kind of a domino effect that I was still trying to recover from.
Right.
But that was my experience from the detection.
Gotcha.
When I found out, I started crying. But I it was kind of weird for me because I'm like this strong, get it done or nothing gets me down, that type of person. So even though I was crying, I have an amazing support team of family and loved ones, my significant other, who really encouraged me. So I was kind of tough after, after that. That came to bite me in the end, but I mean, I was crying, but it was like, I'll be okay type of thing. It's just so crazy how, everybody's experience is so different. Like yours is so different from mine, like, and I think that's something that people should be aware of. Like everybody's experience is not the same.
Absolutely.
But what it does to you mentally, like that's like kind of like the worst part. I'm sure we'll get into that, but
Right.
in the beginning it was just a shock. I cried and I was like, okay, let's do whatever we got to do to get this over with type of thing. I got to move on, I got things to do type of thing.
Yeah. Thank you. And I love that you brought up the fact that it's an individualized journey. I do feel like women, maybe Black women, but women in general, like we have to put up this strong front. I got to be tough for everyone. I remember my mom, and she was just a tough woman, like very strong. And it wasn't until probably the end of her life that I saw her be vulnerable as she battled, breast cancer. And so I love that you talk about that it is individualized. And I feel like families, and you can talk about your family's reactions and responses to your diagnosis as well next. But I feel like we as family members who are embracing this diagnosis along with, the person who received it, that we have to allow people to be individualized in their responses and to know that this is like a trauma, right? This is a change in your life pattern. So everyone is not going to respond the same. Your heart is going to feel how it feels from day to day, So we'll talk about family next, like how your family reacted and responded to your diagnosis, and what are some things that you did to navigate staying a family during your journey through breast cancer, because a lot of people fall apart. A lot of families, they disconnect. Candace kind of shared a little bit about her story, so I want to know that also. But you can talk about your families if you don't mind. What happened with families?
Everyone is so different, and I think I'm always a person that's going to try to get understanding of a person. That way I don't take offense to anything. So like the Bible says, and all you're getting, get understanding. And like I have my sisters, I have my boyfriend, I have my mom. They all responded very differently. My mom is very strong. She was there. She actually lived with me at the time, and she was there supporting me. But my oldest sister, uh, she really supported me. Like she came through every moment. She was there for me. And everybody supported me in a different way. And my middle sister, she just kept me laughing. My boyfriend supported me emotionally. God knows how much I needed that, but behind the scenes, how they were, away from me, I don't know. You know what I'm saying? Like they didn't tell me that. They kept that from me. I don't know how it affected them. And I probably should ask them, like, how did that make you feel? But I do know one thing is that they all wanted me to be here and they all did their parts. And for that, I'm forever grateful for each and every single one of them. And not even to forget my son. Oh my God. My son is just amazing. He supported me, lied in bed, watched movies, made me laugh. So it's just a family and loved ones. They really got me through. So.
For my experience, it was a little different. I think COVID played a part in that as well. I think just everyone, kind of being afraid to be around each other played a part in that. But kind of opposite of you, Nikita, I have three brothers. And they're so used to seeing me be the strong big sister. I'm the oldest.
Yeah.
And I think it was difficult for them to see me needing help for a change instead of being the help. Um, and it made my journey a little different, which kind of it gave me an awakening, but it was not like one that would make me want to cut people off or anything. But it showed me how much I wasn't paying attention to myself, how much I was putting my needs into putting my attention into other people, that I wasn't giving attention to myself. But it doesn't take away from the fact that my husband, and it was funny hearing you talking about your support, Nikita, because I was thinking about my husband.
Girl, I'm trying to hold it in, girl. So make me cry. I'm already trying to hold it.
I hear so many stories of people whose spouses leave them. Oh
my gosh.
But my husband protected me spiritually. Physically, he was he was not playing. Those doctors, they did not want to see him coming. And he was just extremely supportive. Even now, he's just extremely supportive. And being that, we're married and we had just lost our baby, so he was dealing with that too. Don't get it twisted.
Wow.
Men care about losing their babies too, even though they're not having them. But he was still dealing with that. And then, dealing with the diagnosis. And, we have a teenage son. And at the time, my daughter was 3. And now my face is all messed up. But he was just extremely supportive. My mom and my mother-in-law are like, they're good friends in the way that they were able to support me through each surgery and everything. And it showed me both sides, but it showed me like God's love in people. Like being able to experience that kind of support and love through people just wanting to see you here, wanting to see you do well, wanting to be a part of your healing journey and your process to getting back on your feet. Just kind of swept me off my feet. So the support was phenomenal from who it came from, and I just appreciate that so much. So I just want to share that.
Shout out to Eric.
Yes, I didn't even say his name. My God. Yes.
Okay, we got you. So thank you both for sharing that. So it sounds like both of you are agreeing that the support system is very important for navigating this diagnosis, right? And being successful, successful, that's a bad word, but getting through it, right? So, was there anything that you had to do as far as friend wise, like who you allowed to know about your diagnosis? Did you have to cut anyone off? For faith's sake, for what you were believing? Did you have to cut off any naysayers or anything like that to navigate it, along with your family in a way that was safest for you?
I actually had to cut off a couple friends like after the whole process. I hate to say this, but I'm just a realist and very truthful. Well, a lot of my friends, they really didn't support me in any kind of way. And I do understand, like I'm always trying to get understanding and see their positions. Everybody has their own thing going on in their lives. And I'm just like that type of person where I'm not going to be a burden to anyone, like I'm this strong person. And I think that was kind of my issue. And I know you mentioned how your brother saw you as the strong one, and it kind of affected them, but it was me, I was trying to still be that strong and tough person. So I'm like, okay, I understand you got your own things. It is what it is. And then I had another friend who would be calling me with her own problems and not even asking me, what's going on with your girl, and still I supported her, But in the end, it is important to protect your mental space and the energy that you want to set or that you have set for yourself. I didn't want any type of negativity. And throughout this process, I learned the importance of not stressing about anything. Like, I don't stress. I'm not going to stress about anything. If there's anything that generates or causes an emotion in me, I'm just like, I'm done. I don't have the time for that. So going through this process, it is important that, you can kind of look at your relationships and see, your friendships and see how they actually work, and also set the tone for what you expect from people and what you don't want for yourself, So it is important. No negative energy. You got to go.
Yeah, no, I wholeheartedly agree with all of that. As far as friendships, I had I have a best friend who I can honestly say she treated me very she treated me like I was cancer. She didn't treat me like I was a cancer patient. And that is one thing I appreciate about her so much. Shout out to Crystal.
Mhm.
But my sis, she really, she checked in on me. She even helped me cut my dreads off.
Aw.
She came through one day and helped me cut them out on her lunch. She just came by, and so she was always checking on me. And I love that she made me feel human. Like, even though I was thinking about and dealing with this thing, um, she made me feel very human. As far as relationships, much like you, Nikita, um, I have had to evaluate those. What
Mhm.
I have found myself doing is kind of like I do on Facebook sometimes. I'll mute people. And
They
so,
won't know.
like if I find that it's too much, I'm like, that's too much anxiety you're giving me. I
Right.
gotta mute you for a little bit. So, I do find myself evaluating that more, whereas
Mhm.
before I was trying to manage the relationship or people
Mhm.
pleasing. I was trying to do what I could to nurture the relationship, and I was doing a lot of the work, and that work was causing me stress. So I found during that time, like I mentioned before, Eric, if they seemed like they were bringing stress or problems, he didn't let them come through the door. But the same for myself, I found myself constantly, even today, evaluating those relationships and keeping them at
Absolutely.
bay if they aren't, kind of keeping them at bay if they're not, giving me life.
Right. Absolutely. Same here.
Yeah.
So good. So I hear y'all talking about boundaries, and setting them and being firm with them. And boundaries, I just want to iterate that
Absolutely.
boundaries are not walls, they're gates. So as long
Hmm.
as you are safe, come on in.
I love
But when
Absolutely.
that.
you become unsafe, the gate is
You
going to
got to
close and
go.
you need to, get yourself together before you can come
Right.
back in,
Before
right?
you go.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So I can
Absolutely.
stand at the gate and see you. We can still see each other, but if we ain't seeing eye to eye with how you treat me, you
Hmm.
stay out there until you get yourself together. So
Mhm.
boundaries sound like they're a very important part of navigating this diagnosis.
Absolutely.
How would you encourage? So, Chrissy, not Crystal. I'm bringing Crystal into it. I know Crystal
Come
too.
through, Crystal.
Okay.
But Candace kind of iterated on this balance of having people be mindful of your diagnosis, but not treating
Mhm.
you like a cancer patient. And
Mhm.
that's something
Mhm.
I know. I remember being a stickler for my mom. She still tried to be a part of, our lives as much as she could. She wouldn't overdo it. If she just had treatment, no, I'm not coming to a game. But just like Nikita shared with her son watching movies and things like that. Hey, let's sit down and watch a movie. This is our favorite. So there were things she tried to keep as normal,
Mhm.
that were part of our family traditions. Like we loved Christmas. My brother, myself, my mom, especially because we spent so many years together. My dad was in the military. And so Christmas time, holiday time, we stuck together, and so there were certain things that we did. We put up the Christmas tree. So normalcy, as much as she could, she still provided that, right? So,
Mhm.
both of you, how would you encourage people to find the balance between, yes, my loved one has this diagnosis and they're walking through this journey of breast cancer, but I don't ever want to slight them because they're a whole person. For me, this is probably a first time I've done something as far as sharing about my mom, because I got to a point where I realized I was doing the races and all that. I shared this with Candace, doing the races, raising money, every year, hundreds and hundreds of dollars. Then I found out some information that really, really pissed me off. Women of color don't receive a lot of that funding, right? A lot of it does not go to our community, but it does line the pockets of CEOs and all of that. So all this stuff that they're promoting,
Absolutely,
people don't really see it. And I have a problem with that because I have memories connected to this diagnosis, right? And so, for me, I remember, those are the things that my mom, we wanted to make sure that we could have this balance. She still participated in our life, but we don't want her to overdo it. Do what you can. If you can't come to my track meet today, I totally understand. It might hurt a little bit, but it's okay. So how would you encourage people to balance the diagnosis with the woman or the man? Because men get breast cancer also.
Mm-hmm, that's true. I think communication is so important. Mm-hmm. Simply asking them, how can I support you? I mean, something as simple as that. I'll have to say, throughout the process, a lot of people got on my nerves. And I'm like I said, I'm very honest. Because everyone knows I'm strong. I'm the one that, my family comes to, I'm strong. But in this moment of vulnerability, don't tell me to be strong. Do you know what I mean? And absolutely. Because I was hearing that, and I get it. I'm a Christian. I'm a woman of faith. But the cliche sayings, praying for you, sis.
Oh goodness.
Be strong, sis. Come on. Say your silent prayer and leave it at that. Because it was too cliche. And again, I go back to understanding. I get, maybe you don't know what to say or how to say. And I have a family member who doesn't know how to respond in certain situations like this. And I get that, but she didn't do any cliche sayings. It was, how you doing? Do you need anything? Mm-hmm. That's it. You know what I'm saying? And that person will communicate to you what they need in that moment. Whether it's space or just being there or going to get ice cream or watching a movie, allow them to communicate and ask them what they need, or how you can support them.
Absolutely. I love the asking how I support you instead of assuming what I need.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because it changed. Yeah. It went up and down. Right. It was like, I don't want to talk. Give me a hug. Mm-hmm. I'm crying. Right. So me, Right. And just allowing me to go through the emotions. And I'm so grateful. I can't say that enough. I am so grateful for the people that are in my circle, because they gave me that. They did. I was harder on myself than they were. They gave me what I needed and when I needed it. Mm-hmm. And I am so grateful. I am so grateful for my support team. I couldn't say that enough. I love them all.
I love that. Nikita brings us something I have had to realize. So I've talked a little bit about my experience connected to breast cancer, not a diagnosis, but a parent with a diagnosis. And I did not realize that it was a trauma that impacted my life for almost 20 years. And so I lived in this constant state, like perfectionism, all these different things, mm-hmm. And it wasn't until 2018 that I realized and came to grips with the fact that I had not resolved the trauma of losing my mom as she battled breast cancer. And so at that point, I was this strong person. Everybody looked at me, oh, you're so strong. You're so this, you're so that, you're so da, 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 da. And when I started going through therapy in 2018, one of the things I came to grips with was I am a human. I don't only have to be strong.
Absolutely.
I am entitled to a myriad of feelings and emotions. And no one, I got to a point where I said, no one is going to reduce me to just being what they think I should be in an effort to make me shut up or move along or ignore it or whatever. So have you found that you have, I guess, gotten in contact with, not in contact, but connected to more feelings since your diagnosis? Like maybe you were this way prior to, and now you realize like, I'm a whole person, you know, I can do this, I can feel this, and who gonna check me? Because that's where I got to. I wish you would say something.
Absolutely. I would say that has become me before. I mentioned this, but I realized through therapy, because I had started therapy right before I was diagnosed. So it helped as I was going through. But I didn't realize how much of a people pleaser I was. And so, because people were used to me being that Candace, the people pleaser, the yes person, um, I noticed that I was a little bit more stubborn in my responses, stubborn in my communication with others, you know, after kind of going through the journey, because now I'm realizing all the things I allowed emotionally. It made me so raw emotionally that I recognized on the other side of the journey that I needed to stand my ground. And if no one else is going to do it, I have to do it for myself. And then also for me, a lot of the things I was experiencing as well emotionally, I had my daughter, you know, who at the time was 3 when I was diagnosed. She's 7 now, but just realizing she was watching my journey, you know, and how I respond to these things make a difference. And I didn't want to respond in a way that was um, saying that I have to fake like it's not hurting or fake like it's not difficult, but I needed to be honest about those emotions. So it really opened up a lot for me.
Wow, that's so different for me. Oh my gosh.
Mm.
I did. I found myself being more protective of myself because at heart, I'm a giver. I love helping. I love being a listening ear. But I had to kind of guard myself because that wasn't being reciprocated in several relationships that I had. So now I'm very protective of myself and who has access to me.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how I am. And you know, my family, like I said several times, my family was the most supportive, but it was just me, and I wasn't able to, because I knew that I was this strong one. I knew that if I lost it, everybody else is going to lose it.
Mm.
So I had to keep it together because I was, especially my oldest sister. I was like, if I show any signs of weakness, she is going to go into anxiety. And to be honest, the reason why the moment I knew that chemotherapy was not for me was at my breaking point, and my son walked in and saw me breaking down and crying, and I said, I cannot do this, because again, I was being vulnerable and I felt like I couldn't be for the people that, you know, looked to me for things. So I struggled with me, and I learned so much about myself and not being able to be vulnerable, and not be this strong, independent. I got it. I'll take care of it. I don't have, nothing's wrong. I'll fix it,
Mm-hmm.
because I struggled with that in the end. And what a lot of the doctors don't tell you is that after the process is over is when most people go into depression. And I went to my follow-up appointment. I told my oncologist how I was feeling, and then she shared that with me. You know, so it's like, don't you think that's something you should have told me? Because I'm this strong woman, and I'm like, well, what is wrong with me? Why I don't want to get out of the bed? Why I don't want to do anything? Why do I feel like this? And then I'm trying to get myself up on my own, not realizing that it's okay to say I'm kind of depressed, you
Mm-hmm.
know, and then working through that. So definitely being vocal about your emotions throughout the process, or having someone, you know, maybe someone close to you that's not really like your sister, and expressing it to them, whether you have a support group or you're joining Facebook groups or something like that, where you can really be vulnerable, because you're going to drive yourself crazy in the end, kind of like I did, you know. Thank God, you know, I was able to see that and then correct it. So
it's so good. So good.
yes.
So you actually, both of you kind of leaned into my next question, but if you have anything you want to add, the question was, I was writing, so I'm not paying attention. Y'all just keep prompting all these questions. So the next question was, how would you encourage someone to advocate for their mental and their emotional health as they're going through this process? And I also want you to talk about, maybe, because sometimes we have loved ones, we have family members who they want to see you get to the end result of being healed and all of that, and that's great, but maybe they don't allow you to take the lead in how you want to get there. Mm-hmm. So if you have any information, you have any advice, maybe the family member who is telling everybody, you know, like the prayer group or something, I don't know, you know, y'all pray for such and such, and they're just telling everybody, and maybe mentally you're not ready to deal with that. You know, how would you encourage someone to advocate for themselves with a loved one, with a family member, whoever, a spouse, you know, as they go through that? And I just want to share some of the comments. Tarina, I don't know if one of y'all know Tarina. Tarina said, I love the questions, and she loves how honest and transparent both of you are. And she said, this is so good. I'm going to put emphasis on, this is so good, y'all.
Is that Tarina Rogers?
It is. Yes, that's my mom.
That's your mom? Okay, I remember her. She purchased a couple of my products.
Yep.
Oh, so she's the one who, oh my gosh.
So we have a full circle moment, y'all. That's what we do.
That's crazy.
And then we had also Ava said, wow. So I'm gonna take that as a good wow, like, oh my gosh. So thank y'all for what you're sharing. And feel free to jump in.
I'm sorry, it blanked out, so I didn't hear.
It's okay. I just said, feel free to jump in. And if you have any more that you want to share, how would you encourage someone with a new diagnosis, or even if the diagnosis isn't new, but they have had a struggle getting through it because of, you know, for whatever, the family members, the loved ones, the friends, you know, that think they know better than what the person who's experiencing the diagnosis knows.
It's so important to advocate for yourself. Mm-hmm. Like, initially I did not want chemotherapy. I had research on it. I was like, nope, not doing it. I don't care. I was in stage 1. So I was like, why do I don't need chemotherapy. It's gone. You know, they did the scans and stuff after I had my mastectomy, and it's like, okay, it's not there. And then they said, you're going to do chemotherapy just in case. And they wanted me to do 16 weeks of what they call the red devil. And I'm like, you want me to do 16 weeks just in case? I don't think so, ma'am. Wow. But you know what? Again, y'all know I struggled. Okay. I looked at my loved ones and I was like, I know they want me to do it. So I did the 1 round, and it wasn't good at all. It was kind of like one of the worst experiences of my life. And like I said, at the breaking point when I realized I no longer wanted to go through with chemotherapy, my son walked in. And when I told everyone, you know, I don't want to do chemotherapy anymore, they all understood. And I know that's not the case for everyone, but it's your body. Nobody's going to sit through those infusions. Not your doctor, not your husband, not your children. No one's going to sit through all of these side effects that you're going to have. But I would also say, if you're going to choose not to go with those therapies, then have a plan so you can at least, you know, tell your family, this is what I'm going to do instead. And, you know, ask your doctor, you know, because I know they like to give you the therapies that they suggest. But what about the other ones in the event I say I don't want to do that? What are all of the therapies that you have available for me, and not just the ones you recommend, you know? So just advocating for yourself, whether they like it or not, because they don't have to sit through it. So, and they're just going to have to deal with that.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, it's your body, it's your life, and you have to deal with that. So personally advocating, I would say, make sure that one, that for me personally, it was me aligning myself with God more than anything, just listening to his voice about what to do next. And it's amazing how you have to coach people on how to support you. Um, and coaching them because they have ideas, some may have experiences, or my friend said you should do this.
Mm-hmm.
My cousin said you should do this, and you have to be careful of the opinions and make sure that you're doing because if you choose to do what the advice is given to you, you may end up regretting it later because it wasn't your decision.
Absolutely.
So definitely, whether you go through treatment or not, I would say make sure you have a therapist. You won't need someone to talk to that sometimes not your family, because all they know how to do is say, I'm there for you, I got you. They don't know how to have the conversation. Speaking with someone who may not be related to you or attached to you emotionally in a way that they can just help you with your thoughts. Because the biggest battle to me, more than physical, was the mental battle. And so being able to walk through that in a safe way helps. And then even with them doing that, being able to have those conversations, also identify what the doctor's plans are and whether you agree with it, because you don't have to go with what the doctor says.
So true.
It's their opinion. And that's the thing that I've learned, is their opinion of what they want to do. And many times they're just treating the symptoms. Oh yeah, let's give them this, let's give them that. And you want to make sure that it's what you want to do, because you get halfway through it and identify, I really don't want to do this. And now you're stuck, going through the treatment. So I just say advocate for yourself like Nikita, but also make sure that you follow God with your plan, and then also make sure it's a plan that you want to walk through.
Absolutely. I always tell people, you can tell your doctor, no, you pay him. You're paying him. Okay. They don't just tell you what to do. Okay. Yeah. They make suggestions, but you can say no.
That's
it's
it.
okay to say no.
I actually talked to someone earlier who said they are now on their fourth oncologist.
Okay, honey.
And I'm at the point myself of finding another oncologist, because my when I went through, my stage was stage 3, and then when they did their scan, it was stage 4. So from that point, I had to go through with the chemotherapy.
Mm-hmm.
The side effects they do impact you, but you have to do a lot to counteract that as well. But I do say that again, ultimately follow what plan you want to follow. And if they don't support your ideas or what you want to do because it's your life, move on.
Yeah. And that also means that maybe there's something that they need to look at within themselves, because they think they have some type of control over what you do for yourself.
Yeah.
Like, you got to do the work there.
Yeah.
It's really good. Thank y'all. So I want to share a few more comments with you all. This is another thank you shout out to Nikita and Candace. Let's take the show on the road. No, joking. So this is from Eva. This is really good. The information is so relevant. Thank you both. And then Tiffany shared that, thank you for sharing and being so open and honest. This is very enlightening. She has a sister that's currently fighting breast cancer, and both of you have given her some ways to support her loved one. So thank you for that.
You're very welcome.
Thank you.
Hold on, I can't hear.
Go ahead, Nikita.
I just want to mention one thing. Okay. When you're going through this process, you do get closer to God. Like I said, I'm a woman of faith, and I had to assess myself, right? I had to say, well, what grievances am I holding on to? Who haven't I forgiven? Or who, anytime their name comes up, I'm just like, ugh, who is that person?
Mm-hmm.
what are you still holding on to? And that's also an opportunity for you to look within yourself and let some stuff go,
That's so
that you may not realizing you're holding on to, because that triggers a lot within your body.
yeah, yes.
Yeah.
You can feel that trauma in different areas in your body, and it affects your health.
So good.
So you don't let it go for them, you let it go for you. So that's extremely important. I wanted to mention that.
Awesome. So I want to say, just piggyback off what you're saying, that the body keeps the score. That's a book, but it's also something to keep in mind that our body is keeping a tally of the things we've experienced and the trauma, the toxic stress that we've experienced. It takes a toll physically on us. So your mind gets impacted, your body gets impacted, how you believe and see the world gets impacted, your behavior gets impacted, and there's one more, your brain is impacted as well, right? So just keep that in mind as you're going through. Release the things that are toxic to you. Release them. Release them. Don't hold on to them. I remember just before my mom and my aunt, she's on here. We won't get too deep, but I think she would attest to this. Just before my mom was diagnosed, she had to go through this period of releasing some hurts that she had experienced in her younger life, and I think it was my dad kind of shared some other things that she had to work on forgiveness for. Like, I release this person, I will not let this person impact me anymore. So just keep that in mind, that a lot of things that we see physically in our bodies are impacted by our trauma experiences, whatever they were, whenever they occurred. And until there is healing of those things, they're going to be carried with you through your journey. So be as light as you can, I guess, is the admonition with that. I want to also kind of highlight something that both of you shared, that you can tell your doctor no. That self-advocacy in the medical space is very necessary, especially for people of color, and learning how to ask the questions that will get you the results and the responses and the treatment, the care, all of that you need. So I want you all to kind of talk about what are the options and how would you word it? Because sometimes you have to use specific wording for some things for them to kind of, oh, she knows the system, he knows the system. So what are the options for dealing with breast cancer, maybe at each stage, but also what are some things that you need to go into your appointments asking and requesting? And if you don't hear it, then what are some next steps that you could take?
Yeah, I think, being a doctor is just a job. So, you have a job to do. So making sure that you have a doctor that understands you and is not just looking at you as, oh, I got another patient, I got something to do. But just, asking the questions like, what kind of cancer do I have? And also get the images, get the pictures so you can see it. Okay, because I didn't get them, and at a certain point, I was like, "Well, how do I even know this is what they say it is? Like, can I have my images, please?" So, get the proof. Look at everything and ask them to go over the documents with you. Sometimes they just give it to you, and you're not a doctor. You don't know how to read your blood test and things like that. And it's okay to ask them those questions. As far as the therapies go, for every stage, you could have different options. Just like I was stage 1, and they offered me a lumpectomy, and I decided to just have both because they found cysts in my other breast and things like that. And I was like, let's just get them gone. So you do have, some leeway in between what you can do, like lumpectomy, bilateral mastectomy, which you get both of them removed, or you could just get one and then you have reconstructive surgery. Then there's the chemotherapy. There's so many different types of therapy. So like I said a while ago, ask them what are all of the therapies, and don't be afraid to tell them if you don't want to do that anymore. And proceed that way.
Yeah, I think with the conversations with your doctor is is going in. I mean, Nikita, you said it perfectly. Being a doctor is a job. You go to school, and there's no discount to the education that they have. But
Absolutely.
you're treating, symptoms based on a book that told you to do that. And, you want to go in as if you kind of like you're the interviewer and that you're the one who's, going to hire that person. And you want to go in with the power. You don't want to go in waiting for their words, waiting for what the next step is. I think there's so much power. And really, this can really be for anything beyond cancer, but specifically with cancer diagnosis and breast cancer, is going in with the knowledge. Do your research. Learn things that you can. So when they're speaking, they're not trying to talk over your head. Or if it's something that's unknown, you research it right after. Having knowledge allows you to fill in those gaps and allows them not to just kind of give you. And I don't think that they're giving you just anything, but just allows you to feel more empowered when you're in those appointments. And if it's not working for you, second opinion.
Absolutely.
I think hearing second opinion is like, someone double checking your homework or something. Like they don't really want to hear anyone say second opinion. And I've had to do that before. And the doctor was not very satisfied with that, but it made me feel more comfortable.
That's
so,
good.
And also, if you're scared, then get somebody on the phone or somebody with you who's not. Okay, because I had my boyfriend. My boyfriend was on there asking all the questions. I was like, yeah, whatever he said.
Right.
So if you can do it, bring somebody there who
absolutely
can ask all your questions.
That's good. So y'all bring up a good point. So my background educationally, professionally, is special education. And so one thing I learned to do in this space of parents navigating, my child has been assigned, they have a disability basically, and helping parents to navigate that, I learned to over explain, right? And so that's something that I have encouraged people to do on the professional side. Over explain, tell people what they, some people don't know, just like Candace said, they don't know. And you don't, when you're in that space, I would imagine you don't know what to ask sometimes, right? I don't know. I need to know. This is all new to me. I didn't get a degree in oncology. My degree is in education. So, I'm relying on your expertise, but I also want to be knowledgeable to make informed decisions for myself. But I do want to encourage, just from a space of self-advocacy, because I do believe in that, you can stop an appointment. You don't have to, like these ladies said, you don't have to accept what anyone said. I've stopped plenty of meetings on behalf of my students and their parents because you don't want to offer clarity. That's totally fine. We're going to stop until you get your wits about you. When you know how to talk to them and stop giving all these acronyms and all this different stuff, talking big and giving jargon, when you stop all that, then call us back so that we can continue. And I want to say that to anyone who is navigating a diagnosis. Make people explain. This is your body. Make people explain. Don't let them talk over your head. And don't feel like you're being dumb or whatever because you're asking for clarity. No. Tell me what I need to know. I'm going to go home and I'm going to research it, and we'll go from there. Mm-hmm. And don't let people rush you through, well, we need to do this immediately. We need it. Right. We may. But we're going to take a little time, too, because I got to make an informed decision. So keep that in mind. We have a few more. Someone said that they had to thank you for bringing up the point of forgiveness. So that was a big point. So thank you for that. And we have, this is so on point. So I think we're going to take this show on the road, ladies. We're going to keep it going.
Okay.
Yes. And and then we have another one that says, you ladies are so right. You can't tell your doctor no. So thank you both for that. We are right at an hour. So I want to make sure that I honor your time. I want you to kind of talk about briefly, maybe one piece of advice you would give someone who has a new diagnosis. What's one piece of advice you would give them? And then I also want you to kind of share how people can get in contact with you. I'm going to throw it in the chat for them, and we'll close out that way.
One piece of advice I would have to say is you can heal it. It can be healed.
Okay.
So And you can find me at _Essence of Earth on Instagram. I'm on YouTube at The Essence of Earth, as well as Facebook as The Essence of Earth. I do have a company, The Essence of Earth, in which because of this, and like Candace and I were talking earlier, we were saying, it's so crazy how our journeys weren't for us. And my boyfriend, he told me that throughout the whole process. And I'm like, how? You can't really see it when you're in it. So as a result of, what I went through, I did the research, I'm reading the books, and I'm finding out, how to maintain health so cancer doesn't come back. And now I'm sharing that with other people in which I develop formulas, non-toxic things, for the home and things like that. So that's what I do. And please contact me if you need help. I am here. So please do that.
All right. And I will be reaching out to you, Nikita. But for me, I would say the advice that I would give is this is just a page in the story. This is not the end. This is just, kind of like the climax of the story. And it's how you respond to it that gets you to the other side. You don't want to have a rough patch going down the hill. You just want to, kind of take it as it is each day and not, write it off as the end of the story. But I can be found at Candy Pie 85 on Instagram and at Candace Rogers on Facebook. My husband and I, we have a pressure washing business. So that's our business right now in the community. We also have a business page for our pressure washing business.
Awesome sauce.
Okay, I was trying to make sure I get all y'all's information in there. So, okay. Are there any emails that I can add to the chat for both of you?
theessenceoferarth@yahoo.com.
Okay.
And candypie85@yahoo.com. And as we're wrapping up, I do want to say, Nikki, thank you so much for having me on here, having us on here. Yes. It's amazing how your story of pain has brought a moment where we could share our stories with other people. And I just really hope that even just one person, can be encouraged from just this hour online. So thank you again.
I completely agree. Thank you. This is a great organization, by the way.
Okay, thank y'all. I'm trying to multitask. So I want to say thank you both for making this happen, for making it go so smoothly. I would encourage both of you to go back through the comments. I tried to share all of them, but make sure you go back through the comments just to see how many lives you impacted. Everyone, please make sure that you share with your people, especially if you know someone who has a diagnosis, or even they have, been in remission, but they may not know all of what was presented. Like, there's a life of fullness that can be had after your diagnosis, right? And you don't have to live limited. So keep that in mind. And with that, I want to say thank you for joining us, and I appreciate you, and y'all have a great night.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye. Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel, my space, my room, Essence of Earth. I'm your hostess with the mostest, Miss Nikita, and y'all know over here we're going to focus on everything that's going to help you improve the quality of your life. So if you like stuff like that, please, let's be friends, subscribe to my channel, all of that stuff. Y'all already know. Give you a moment of silence. Okay, thank you. All right, so one, I'm extremely excited because I literally just finished, not too long ago, having a conversation with another person who battled breast cancer. Y'all know it's still Breast Cancer Awareness Month, so that's what we're focusing on tonight. And then it was actually someone on the other side where her mother actually passed away from breast cancer, and then she had a little scare. So, and the name of that organization is Little People Serving. It's a great organization. My son is a part of it, and they're going to do big things. They already are. They're making an impact, and it's beautiful. And I'm so grateful to have been a part of that. So much so, I was preparing for bed, and I was like, let me get up and talk about this and get this out of my system and share this information, because from the conversation that I had, I just kind of took some nuggets that I felt like would be great to discuss, and maybe somebody, someone who's going through it, or if you, the loved one of someone who's going through it, maybe you can take them back these nuggets and kind of help them throughout their journey or their process. So, just a few nuggets. And it's just so crazy to be able to listen to someone else's journey, because it's so different, which leads me to my first nugget. My first nugget is that everybody's journey looks different. Okay, while you can get in these like Facebook groups and social media, and you get to see all these people talking about their journey or whatever, but nobody's journey is quite like yours. So just don't compare yourself, to other people's decisions that they make for themselves. Everybody's journey is different, and everybody is going to require different things when it comes to like support, right? For me, going through my process, the emotional support was like one of the most important things that I needed for myself. Going through the journey in itself, I did learn a lot about myself and my inability to be vulnerable or be anything other than that strong, independent woman that I'm typically known for within my family. It was hard for me to step out of that role and be vulnerable and go through the emotions that I was having in silence, because I didn't want to affect my loved ones, right? So just understanding that everybody's journey, it looks different, and what you need, you can advocate for. Don't be afraid to advocate for yourself with your family members. It's okay to say, I just need space right now. It's okay to say, I want you here. You don't have to say anything. I want you here. It's okay to cry, right? And, speak up for yourself, and even with your doctors, right? And I'm just going through these nuggets, y'all. I'm just talking because I just got to get it out right now. I don't have nobody to talk to right now. Everybody's doing their own thing. So I'm kind of like, I got all of these emotions and I have all of these feelings and I have to get it out. So here you guys are. And when I talk about my cancer journey, I don't like talking about it. So it took me a lot not to cry during this conversation that we had, but I was able to do it. So I kind of feel a little emotional right now, but I'm going to try to keep it under wraps. But yeah, advocate for yourself. Ask questions with your doctor, and let your family and friends know what it is that you need from them. Because some of them don't know how to react. Everybody is different. And then as someone actually going through it, you have to have some type of understanding, because not everybody deals with these types of things the same way. For instance, like my oldest sister, she kicked in, like she did everything. And then my other sister, she didn't quite know how to console or comfort me, but she's freaking hilarious. So she kept me laughing. She checked in on me every now and then, and she keep me laughing. And then I have a sister cousin who doesn't know how to handle these situations at all. So she kind of like shied away from any type of conversation about it, other than just checking on me and saying, how am I doing? And I don't have any ill feelings against how either of these people
treated me or anything like that. I just understood that everybody is different, and the support that they gave me was the support that I needed, and I was grateful for. So, not everybody has that support system like I did, and I'm grateful for that. But it's okay to advocate for yourself and what you need. And if you don't have that support system, maybe you can join groups. You can join some groups, Facebook groups, small community groups within your locally within your city or your county, and finding the support that you need. Advocate for yourself, honey, because aside from the physical things that you have to go through with being diagnosed with breast cancer, I think the worst part is actually the mental part of it, right? It's what nobody else can see or feel. It's in your head, and you have to be able to get that out, which leads me to my next nugget now. See, like for me, like I just said, I like the strong, independent sister. Everybody is like comes to me with their problems, and I say, you need to do this, that, and the third. So it was hard for me, and I kept my emotions bottled up, right? Because it was like, if I tell my sister or my mom, my boyfriend, what I'm actually feeling, like they probably would go insane. Well, probably not my boyfriend, because he's like, he keeps me grounded and level, and stops me from having anxiety attacks. But still, I felt like I couldn't express myself to the people that were closest to me because it would make them freak out. So I kept a lot of things bottled in, and I really didn't have that person who wasn't so close to me that I could just spill the beans with no judgments or without the attachment that they had to me. So it is so important that you find someone who is probably not a relative, maybe just a friend, a therapist, that you could just spill the beans, honey, and tell them how you feel. Because if you don't, in the end, it's going to hurt you, friend. It's going to hurt you mentally. And it wasn't fun. That wasn't fun for me. I would have to say, chemotherapy was pretty bad, but how I felt mentally and being depressed at the end of everything, I didn't feel good. I didn't like that. That wasn't me. And I could just imagine if I wasn't able to catch it and get myself working and get out of that mode that I was in, it could send me going a spiral downwards. So make sure you got somebody that you can talk to that I guess I don't know if the word is like non-biased, or someone who isn't so close to you, who aren't or won't be affected by the things that you're saying about how you feel. And they'll just let you vent and not go into a frenzy, okay? And then also when it comes to advocating for yourself, I want y'all to know your doctor works for you. Like you're paying them. And just like you pay anybody else for a service, you can say no. Okay, I want you to understand that you can say, no, this isn't something that I want for myself. What else do you have? You can say that. And if they act like, they're the head honcho and that they just going to tell you what the heck you can do with your doggone body. Ma'am, sir, next. Can I get another oncologist on aisle 2, please? Because this one ain't working. Okay, so advocate for yourself in that way. And honey, if you can't advocate for yourself with your doctor, get that auntie that'll cuss anybody out for you. Or that auntie, uncle, you got one of them in your family. Trust me, you know that one who just does not care about how anybody feels, and they're gonna say what needs to be said. Get that person in the appointment with you and tell them what to say. Okay. I'm telling you, it will help. Okay, so do that. But also another nugget that I wanted to share with you is during this process, you got to assess yourself. I think I mentioned this in another video, but this was something that came up in the conversation that I had tonight. And you got to assess yourself, whether it's forgiveness for something you did and maybe you can't let go, something you did bad and you just holding on to, you just feel like a bad person because you did it. But that was a point in time, right? As long as you're not continuously choosing it over and over and over and over again. And in a sense, you are continuously choosing it over and over and over again if you keep thinking about it every day, because every time you think about it, it generates the same emotions that you had back then, even though it's not even happening anymore, but you're making it happen mentally. So you really have to assess yourself and forgive yourself, forgive other people. Any grievances that you may be holding that are kind of like trivial, they don't mean anything, girl, let it go. It's not worth it, because your body, and actually that's the book that Dr. Nikki, she put in there. She said there's a book that I'm actually gonna go and buy it, that your body keeps count or your body keeps score or something like that. So I'm definitely gonna read that book. But you know, when you're holding on to things, your body is holding on to that trauma, and you gotta let that go, friend. It ain't worth it, because you ain't letting it go for them, because they know they dead wrong. They dead wrong for what they did. They dead wrong, but you can't hold on to that, okay? Because it's hurting you in ways that you probably don't even know. Okay, so let it go, friend. So yeah, and that's it. That's it. Well, I had an amazing time, y'all. Let me tell you, I felt like I was holding my breath the whole time. I couldn't breathe. I know I was breathing because I was obviously alive, but I was so nervous. It was something that was new to me, but it's actually something that I plan on doing in the future, which is interviewing people and having discussions regarding health and things like that. So I was like, why am I so nervous? But, you know, I don't think it transpired through the interview. But inside, honey, I felt like I was dying. I really did. I really felt like I was dying. But when they ended it, I just like fell out of my chair. I fell out of my chair and I was like lightheaded for like 15 minutes. My son was like, maybe you need water. I was like, I think I do. I was like, I don't know why this is affecting me so badly, but I'm glad it didn't come through in the actual the live stream that we did, because honey, I was going through it. At one point, things got a little blurry. Like, what is happening to me? I need to breathe. I'm not breathing. Oh, that was so funny. Okay. But nonetheless, your journey belongs to you. It doesn't look like anybody else's journey. Advocate for yourself, love on yourself, forgive yourself, and move forward. Okay. If God can forgive you, you can forgive you too. Okay. I hope this blessed you in some kind of way. Don't forget to subscribe and share it with your friends. Have a good night.